why would a house not sell in the Knox area market? Like, isn't it a crazy hot market? Isn't there low inventory? Aren't there a ton of people relocating? Yes. But sometimes things don't go great on a listing, and we're going to talk about what some of those things could be on a Knox area house that is listed for sale and ends up expiring. It doesn't sell. What can you do? What's the reason? Let's dive in and talk about it. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is what percentage actually of homes in the Knox area actually don't sell. So what I did is pull listings, like all listing activity for the past year. And I did this and I broke it down in two different ways. One is everything that was listed in the Knoxville area, pending, contingent, canceled, all of it, sold. That was a total of 30,267 listings, okay? Of those 30,267, 2,451 expired, which is roughly 8%. So I was curious about like, what is the data saying closed versus expired? Just to give me an idea. So the assumption on an expired would be that they're overpriced. Like, pricing is a huge thing. Like that the data is going to show me. The data will probably show me that it's overpriced from a listing perspective. It's overpriced from price per square foot perspective. The data is also going to obviously show me that these expireds were on market a lot longer than what closed property was. So from a listing perspective for the entire Knox area, like East Tennessee Realtors Association, which is a 12 county area, 30,000 ish listings, 8% of those expired. So if we look at closed average list price, so homes that sold, what was their average list price? And I chose list and not sold because the expireds didn't sell, so we don't have a sell price to compare, okay? So closed list price average $415,657, while expired list price average $644,573. That is a 55% difference, aka the expired listings were listed at 55% different. Well, you might be like, well, Haley, maybe they were more expensive houses. They were larger houses. Okay, so if we look at average square footage of closed properties, average square foot of closed properties, 2,022 square feet. Average square footage of an expired property, 2,395. So just under 400 square feet difference. That's like a room. That is not significant in my opinion. I'm not saying it's not statistically significant. I did not put this through a statistical analysis model. I'm just telling you, like 400 square feet difference is not huge, okay? So then I thought, okay, how does this compare to Knox County only, just if we get a smaller snapshot of like the Knox metro area? So if we look specifically at Knox County, again, I went back a whole year and I looked at everything that happened, all activity, all total activity was 9,620 total listings. Of those 9,620, 461 of those expired, which is 4%. So I think that's kind of interesting because for all of the East Tennessee Realtors Association, 8% total expired. However, in Knox County, 4%. So half as many listings expired in the Knox County area. So certainly that would indicate that Knox County is transacting better, like you have a higher probability of your home selling within Knox County than certain other parts around the Knox metro area. Okay, so let's look at Knox County closed list price and Knox County expired list price. So Knox County closed list price average was $439,602. However, expired average list price, $619,217, which expired list price 41% higher, which is also interesting because then you think, well, all the area was 55% higher, but it had an 8% expiration rate, while in Knox County, the expired listings were 41% higher than list, but they have a 4% expired rate. So it's interesting. There's a price situation going on, for sure, and that's, I think, impacting the percentage of stuff that is expiring. Okay, so then again, let's talk about days on market. So days on market for an expired listing in Knox County average 114, whereas closed listings, their days on market were 23. So that's from list to under contract. That's a huge difference, for one. For two, expired means that whatever the term was for that listing, that you go in and you put the date, it did not sell in that agreed upon term. And so there's a huge amount of variance, because the highest number of days on market was 1,277, and then for expireds, and the highest days on market for closed in Knox County was 835. So multiple years, right? So anyways, okay, so then let's look at square footage. Is there a size difference between Knox County only expireds and Knox County closed? Well, average square footage for closed properties in Knox County, 2,103, and then average expired, 2,482. So that's even less of a difference than the whole area. So overall, East Tennessee area, 8% of listings over the past year expired. Knox County only 4%. Okay, now again, I just want to point out that factors in everything. So this could include new construction that's just sitting there because people don't want to buy it until it's done. It includes everybody. Some of these are repeaters. Like if you go on and you were to search expired, you're going to see a couple that are expired more than once. So it's encompassing everybody. But overall, 4% chance, 4% of what gets listed will expire. Okay, so that being said, or as of last year, that's what happened last year. Which obviously last year, 2023, when I'm referring to last year, I'm saying 2023 is a little bit of a wild card because of interest rates. So it could be interesting to look back at what happened in 2022, like what are our averages over time, but I wanted to do a quick snapshot. Okay, so now that we kind of know some stats, let's talk about reasons why a house would not sell. And so I'm going to talk about the top 3 reasons why, and then I'm going to give you some other insights about things that are considerations to think about, because just like people, houses are individual and they got their own little quirks, right? So like we can make blanket statements about all people, but also realizing that everyone still at the end of the day is different. Just like when I was a math teacher, like I've got 30 students in there, and I'm trying to get them all to the same finish line. But the way we do it might be different, because everyone's special, just like every house. Anyways, okay, top 3 reasons. Number 1, was access to the property limited? AKA, if somebody wanted to go and see the property, wanted to schedule a showing, was it easy to schedule? Was it timely? Did they have to request 4 times and it got canceled or declined every time? This is a super important one. You cannot expect your house to sell well if people are not able to come in the door and check it out. And the other issue with this is, and this is hard, I understand this is hard, especially if you've got small children or a bunch of animals or both, or like you're a caretaker, or you work from home. Like there's all kinds of things. In an ideal world, it's basically open season, open sesame, whatever you want to call it. In an ideal world, you do not decline a listing. And if you do decline, a showing. And if you do decline a showing, then you would tell them, hey, that doesn't work for me. Can you come at this time instead? or have a solid reason why. Because if people understand a solid reason, no, let it be real, okay? But you know what I'm saying. So number one thing is accessibility to even come and see your house. This is a major thing. And I also want to point out, like, what is the experience during the showing? Like, how does it present, which kind of gets into my next point. But overall, there has to be access. And even if you need to limit access to like certain times of the day or week, if you say that up front, that's going to work out better than you declining. And remember that people want it now. Like I want to look at it now. You also don't want to put out the perception that you don't want to sell your house. Like when you decline a showing, it's like, do you want to show it? I mean, do you want to sell it? You know, what's the deal? So just bear in mind, it's very important that buyers can come and see the house, period, point blank. And I do understand that there's circumstances, but if there are circumstances that are going to limit the hours, you want to have a showing plan in place before your agent pushes list in the MLS and it goes live to all the thousands of people on the internets and interwebs and everywhere, all over town. You want a showing plan. So that's definitely a conversation to have, because a lot of issues with showings you can address before they even became issues or problems. The number one takeaway here is homes that have limited access and people can't walk through them and see them are not going to sell as well. Bottom line. Okay. Number two, I'm going to say this several different ways. Would you have swiped right on your own house? In other words, would you be like, wow, this looks good? Another way of saying this is, did you make a great first impression? Did your first showing go well? And when I say your first showing, I mean your online showing. The first showing is literally the pictures of your home online. So if what you're presenting isn't nice, less people are going to want it, period. And I mean, this is so important. 44% of buyers, before they talk with a lender, before they talk with an agent, before they do anything else, start by looking at houses online. So that means if you've got great pictures and great things, like your house is going to be one where people like look at it, they're like, oh my gosh, I got to go see that, or this is what I want. Like, even if that buyer is looking 6 months ahead of time, you are setting the stage for expectation. You are, or someone else is. In other words, if your pictures are trash and do not highlight the home, you're going to limit the number of actual showings you even get to begin with. So think about how your home presents online. Where do you shop? You shop online, right? You go to Amazon, you go to Target. I don't know where you shop online. I shop online at Amazon and Etsy. Okay, that's where I go. I mean, that's how things are. People shop online, which means you got to make it nice. The pictures got to be good. They need to be strategic. You don't have to put 30 pictures of everything. You need 10, 15, 20 great pictures that highlight the most important parts of your house. And then the other thing is this. You do not want the pictures of your house to be the ones that people zoom in and they're like, is that a Cabbage Patch Kids collection? Is that, what kind of Lego is that? Oh wow, that's a collector. I mean, you don't want that. You want people thinking like, wow, look how open that kitchen is. Wow, look how much room they have in the dining room. Wow, look how much furniture they have in the living room, in a good way. I'm not saying in a clutter, I'm saying in a way that makes it big, right? Because if you have to the window, to the wall couches, no ma'am. But you get what I'm saying. Like, the pictures need to look good. It needs to present well online. Your first showing is your online listing, period. And then second piece of that, okay, say the people are coming, you've got the showings, they walk in and it's dirty. I mean, disgusting. I mean, dishes in the sink. I mean, your white trim is brown. I mean, there's dirt everywhere. It smells like dog. It smells like cat. It smells like mold. It smells like horrible. Not a good look. So you want the actual sensory experience to also be great. And I'm not saying you need to throw in a bunch of air fresheners, because that can sometimes be a red flag. And also somebody that's super sensitive to smell ain't gonna like that either, okay? So it's literally like, yes, I'm trying to please everyone. Yes, yes, you are. So that being said, first impression online is great. And then first impression in person is awesome. So that is from everything from where they're gonna park. What do they see as their agent is unlocking the door? Are they looking at a bunch of shrubbery and dog poo all over the yard? Or is it like, you cared, you put mulch down, you put new plants, like whatever is going to highlight and not draw attention to negativity is what you want to do, right? I'm not saying you need to hide things. I'm just saying, make it nice. If you are a Real Housewives fan, like Dorinda says, make it nice. The other thing is you want people to see the whole house. So this is twofold. Do you have a bunch of clutter everywhere where they can't see, they can't get to closets, they can't see closets, they can't see, for whatever reason, garage walls and like basement walls are always like stacked with stuff. And that is a major turnoff for a lot of buyers. Like they're like, how are they even gonna inspect this? How can, I can't even see what's here. So keep that in mind. And then also keep in mind, locked doors are not favorable. If people can't actually see the whole house, like they've shown up to come see this house and they can't see the whole thing, they don't know what they're buying. They're gonna spend a lot of money on this. They want as much accessibility as possible to see the whole thing, okay? So just want to put that bug in your ear. So number one was, are you allowing showings? Can people come in? Is it accessible? And number two is, how is it presented online? / what is the showing experience? So how are people seeing the house both online and in person? Okay, number three, and one of the huge ones that we've already touched on based on Knox County stats, seeing that 41% of homes that expired in Knox County, that the homes that expired in Knox County were on average 41% listed over the closed list price. So 41% higher than what was listed and closed, okay? So pricing, it matters. The longer, the higher, the overpriced it is, typically the longer it's gonna sit. And also overpriced, it gets back to this limiting of access, because sometimes if it's so overpriced, people will not even go look at it. They will literally not schedule a showing. And how do you know that? Well, if your pictures look great, and you've got like all these great things about this house, but there's no showings happening, it's either like Christmas Day or your price too high. Because your showing activity, like who's wants to schedule to see it, is hugely dictated by your price. If you are way overpriced, no one's coming to look at it. They're not doing it. It ain't worth it, okay? They're like, this guy's unrealistic. Whatever, this lady, whoever. Essentially, if you price it too high, this leads to slower lead flow, so less people interested to come see it, and could also result in a price drop. So, and that's a quote from Forbes actually. So just some notes about pricing, and ideally you work with a great agent. Well, first of all, you work with a great agent that makes sure it's marketed well. So super particular about pictures, video, and all that, how it presents, but also helps and guides you to price it. Now, the goal of a great agent is to get you the most money in like the most time under the best terms, basically get you what you want, right? Sometimes maybe somebody wants to list higher, and if that's the case, most agents would say either they won't take it or they'll say, okay, fine. Well, if we do that in 14 days, we're dropping the price if it's not sold. And then you have an agreed upon target amount. Another way this might go about is if you're like, no, I want to try it at this high price because Zillow or Trulia or whatever has an automated value that's really high, and that number looks great, but it doesn't go with the market. You could test it, but just be aware of where you're getting your pricing information from. So for example, if you are looking at an automated value provided online. That automated value is pulling comps. It can tell from a computer perspective. And I know we have AI and I know all that, but I'm just saying, like, that computer, as of right now, cannot, like computers and the automated value models cannot smell your house. They can't see the railroad track next to it. They can't see what your neighbors are like. They can't see how the renovations are. Are they quality? Are they not? They don't know what updates were made since it was last appraised. Like there's all this missing information that matters when it comes to pricing. So I want to point that out to you. Sometimes those automated value models. So for example, the best one is an example of Zestimate. And Zestimate, Zillow will say we have X percentage confidence in this. So I would see what are they saying their confidence is in the automated value, but then also your agent is going to give you a market analysis and price suggestion based on what is sold, what's currently active, and what the market looks like right now. Within a mile of your property, what a comparable properties look like, and where does your house fit within those comparable properties from a price perspective, okay? The other thing is that the longer, so if you price too high, likely that's gonna slow your lead flow. So your house is gonna sit on the market for longer. The longer it sits, the less chance you have of getting a full price offer. So I've provided this graphic, essentially odds of selling at or above list price. Within 1 week, you have a 57% chance. Week 2, 50%. Week 3, 39. Week 4, 32%. Goes all the way down. Week 9 is still there of getting at or above list price is 16%. So, and probably by week 9, you likely would have dropped it. So you probably, I mean, I think 16% is actually like a super optimistic stat. I was shocked to hear that. Okay, so the other thing is when you are pricing, when you're pricing at the market, you're reaching out to, you're getting about 60% of potential buyers within that specific buyer pool for your property. When you price slightly below, you're getting more eyes. The stat I have is that if you're pricing 15% below market, you're attracting 90% of buyers within that price point. So if you're 15% below like market value, and sometimes people do this because you might think, oh, well, why would you do that? Well, maybe you need to sell quick. Maybe you're relocating. You got to move, whatever. Or maybe like for example, this often happens when people are under contract on something else that is contingent on their home selling. Well, if you are so in love with the new house that you're under contract on that you got to get your current house sold, you're going to price it very strategically to get as many buyers through the door, as many eyes on it as possible. Because the more people that come through your house, that see it, that like it, the more money you're going to make, which is why the marketing piece of it is so important, because the marketing helps you get more people through the door, as does price, right? So it's a pricing marketing duo there. So long story short, to say all of this, pricing is super important. And when you overprice by 15%, then you're limiting your buyer pool to about 10% of people like within that overall price point, which is why sometimes a lot of agents will be, say you're trying to decide between, here's a better example, 440 and like 451. Where are you gonna price it? Well, a lot of buyers are pre-approved up to 450, right? But if you price it to 441, you're getting 450 to 475, maybe even people up to 500, right? Like you're getting all of those people. And these people that maybe they're pre-approved for right at it, they're gonna be looking as well. And these people right at it will make offers. And so will these people at 475 or 5. So you're opening your buyer pool when you price it really well and really competitively. So that being said, a couple other notes and things I want you to think about. Things that buyers are looking for when they're looking at their ideal property and how they compare. They're gonna compare the layout of this house to your house. They're gonna compare the schools, of the house they're looking at maybe yesterday and in your house today. They're gonna compare safety. They're gonna compare upkeep. They're gonna compare things like how old the roofs are, how is the HVAC, do the bathrooms need to be updated. So they are constantly comparing between properties. So that is why you want to do everything you can to make your house as pretty. When I say pretty, I mean as appealing as possible. And that could be, you make it appealing because of price. You make it appealing because of your marketing. You make it appealing because you highlight the location of it. You make it appealing because, like, there's all these different things, right? And sometimes there's things that you cannot address. So you want to address them in other ways. For example, say your house literally backs up to a railroad track that is active 12 hours of the day. Most people, that would be a deal breaker. They're gonna drive up, they're gonna see a train running right past your house, and they're gonna be vibrating outside. And they're gonna say, oh, hell no, I'm not buying this. Well, what are other things you could do to compensate for the fact that you're next to a train track? That's an aggressive example, because if it's going 12 hours a day, I think it's a no-go for pretty much everyone. But can you address this? Like, most likely it's gonna be by price, right? Or you make sure it has all new everything. It's got new roof, new HVAC, whatever it needs. I'm not saying put a new roof on a 1-year-old house. I'm just saying there can't be a bunch of bad stuff. Like, it can't be multiple double whammies, one after the other. So if there are ways, or another one is like super steep driveways. What are ways that you make the house appealing that the super steep driveway doesn't matter? What would that be? Pricing, updated. The yard in the back is great. Like, there is a usable yard. Like, what are things you can do to compensate for a major negative, a major thing that would in most cases be a deal breaker for people? So if you're thinking about, like, you can't, I want to say be reasonable in the sense that, like, if your house is right next to the train tracks and you're overpriced, you look like you don't even want to sell. Like, no one's coming to see that, right? And that's going to kill your sale, because the more people that come to your house to check it out, the more opportunity you have to get it under contract on a deal and in a sale that meets your goals in the process, right? So anyways, that being said, those are some reasons and stats behind why something might not sell in the Knoxville market, and really in general. I know we talked very specifically about Knox area stats and expired listings, but these are pretty universal in the sense that you want to make your house appealing, you want to make it accessible, and you want to price it really well. If you do those things, great. You have a really great opportunity of having success when selling. So anyways, I'm Haley Jones. If you want more content about this and the East Tennessee, Knoxville area, as always, subscribe. I've got so much more to share with you, and I'll see you next time.